Testing the mic one last time. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
All right. So, how are we doing tonight, Colorado Anime Fest? It's great to be here. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. I do feel, is it frowned upon to wear a hockey jersey during one of these things?
Yeah, probably. No one cares.
I mean, I care. I'm a big Avalanche fan.
If it's from Detroit, I would take stock. But you're an Avalanche guy, so you're good.
Okay. So, here, let's begin, shall we? So, let me introduce myself. My name is Preston Plord. It's very nice to meet all of you here at Colorado Anime Fest. And this panel is about making as you see on screen, it's making retro game consoles look good and play well on modern screens without hard modding them, without emulation on your computer, that sort of thing. This is about the upscalers that a lot of people use, myself included. Okay. But before we get into upscalers, let's talk about me for a second. So I started uploading videos to YouTube in May of 2012. I was 16 years old at the time. I started writing game reviews on my Blogspot page, or is it Blogspot or Blogger? I can't remember, maybe both. In November of 2015. I joined Silver Soul Gaming in November of 2018 and have since become an affiliate. I joined the Rebel Gaming Club in September of 2019. And a fun fact, the leader of the group is the lead singer of a punk rock band called the River City Rebels. You may remember them from video game soundtracks like Amps 2 and Far Cry 5, I think it was. I never played a Far Cry game in my life, so I could be mistaken. I hosted 3 panels during WebCon 2020. That was an online convention that took place during the COVID pandemic. I hosted my first in-convention panel at Non-Desicon 2023. Anybody been there? Anybody going this year? Nice. I co-hosted a gaming and cosplay meetup at Channel 3 Retro Gaming Center with Wesrez and Dr. Despair in September 2022. Make sure you follow them on Instagram and all that sort of stuff. And they're both here in this con, I should say. I've also occasionally dabbled in podcasting, Twitch streaming, cosplaying, cosplay photography, and music reviews, among other things. And these are the socials for myself and the groups that I'm in. And also for Channel 3 Retro Gaming Center, which, as I mentioned, I co-hosted a gaming and cosplay meetup at. And I just noticed the chair is blocking the Channel 3 Retro Gaming Center on Twitch part, or not my chair, this chair right here. There we go, that's better. All right, everyone good? Ready to move on to the next slide? All right, cool. So here are the downsides of retro consoles on modern screens without the right equipment. Grainy, washed out colors, input lag, and cheap RCA to HDMI converters from Amazon, eBay, etc. seem to make the colors even worse. Not to mention, what they don't tell you is that they stretch the image, and that's what really makes it look bad. And now we're going to get into what I use to record footage from retro consoles. This is the RetroTink 5X Pro. It upscales retro console footage to up to 1440p without washed out colors and input lag. 1200p and 1440p, in my experience, will not work on the Elgato 4K 60S Plus, so set it to 1080p if that's the capture card you're using. I used to use a 4K 60 Plus, and I now use an Elgato 4K-X. And it works pretty well. So what it does, what the upscaler does, the RetroTink 5X Pro, is it takes component, SCART, S-Video, and composite cables, The yellow cable goes in the green hole. And there's an optional adapter for converting composite and S-video to SCART. You'll need a VGA to component adapter in order to use VGA with this upscaler. And it's got adjustable aspect ratios and optional CRT like screen filters. If you don't know what a CRT is, it's those like old tube TVs from back in the day. Some people like still have some of those for things like light gun stuff, because it's really hard to like find converters for making light gun stuff work on the HD TVs. Of course, the downside of the downsides to CRTs is that they're hard to find and they're really heavy. Yeah. So this thing new is $325 before tax and shipping. I know it sounds like a lot of money, but personally, in my opinion, it's worth every dollar. It was succeeded by the RetroTink 4K in late 2023, which supports 4K resolution and VGA input, among other things. It costs $750 before tax and shipping, which is obviously super expensive for an upscaler. There is also a $475 version called the RetroTink 4K CE, which has less features. Off the top of my head, I don't remember all the missing features. I do know that it says that it doesn't have enhanced S-video support, even though like it has an S-video input. Coaxial adapter and VCR with set adapter in the input and composite cables in the output. Who remembers VCRs? Sweet. Oh, there's some people that didn't put their hands up. This combination is for recording footage from consoles that only support RF audio video without hard mods, such as the Atari 2600. The video will look a little sharper, but the mono sound will be split in two instead of improved. And now we're going to get into the pre-HDMI AV formats. I forgot to put pictures of what the cables look like, so I'll do my best to describe them. Component can output up to 1080i resolution, recommended for the PlayStation 3, Wii, Xbox, GameCube, and PlayStation 2. Component cables are green, blue, red, and there's also red and white for stereo audio. The PS3 uses HDMI, but HDCP prevents footage in said format from being recorded and cannot be avoided unless you somehow manage to find a video converter that bypasses it. And all I'll say is thank God the PS4 got rid of that. Or like I should say, it gave us an option to disable the HDCP. Oh, thank God for that. Why Sony decided to do that for the PS3, I have no idea. But it was really one of their stupidest decisions. All right. VGA fits somewhere in between component and SCART, recommended for the Dreamcast. I wish the Dreamcast lasted longer. It's got some great games for it. Let's go on to the next one. You can also find a VGA to component adapter for your Dreamcast if your upscaler doesn't have a VGA input. SCART, sharper than S-Video, recommended for the PlayStation, Sega Saturn, Super Nintendo Entertainment System, Sega Genesis and its add-ons, TurboGrafx-16, and the Sega Master System. Let's go on to the next one. S-Video is not as sharp as SCART, but better than composite, recommended for the Nintendo 64. So an S-Video cable has red and white for stereo audio, and also has a black cable with a bunch of pins in it. SCART is blue, or not SCART. VGA is blue with a bunch of pins in it. The early PCs used those before HDMI was a thing. And SCART is another one of the is like S-Video with pins in it, except bigger. Composite is like those standard red, white, and yellow cables that you might have seen before. The first of the RCA AV formats, recommended for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Despite using composite video, the NES uses mono audio. And RF is used by the earliest game consoles and only outputs mono audio. You can use RF is like those coaxial adapters that we talked about earlier, and you might have seen those like Radio Shack adapters from back in the day. Those are RF as well. Now that's the end of the slideshow. It's a very quick one, but let me see. How much time do we have? How much time do we got? Anybody got a phone or a watch with them?
7:40.
7:40? Okay. So we got about 35 minutes to kill to, you can ask me questions for 35 minutes. It doesn't have to be just about this presentation. It can be just about me. It can be about my YouTube content. It can just anything you think is interesting to talk about. Just don't be weird. All the way in the back.
Yeah, so if composites sold all the low tier, how come like everything came with composite like cables? Like the PS2 came with like the red and the yellow and the white ones, like the Wii came with those two. How come they didn't come with cables for their preferred video formats?
Well, I guess they just wanted more money out of you for better cables. That's my best answer I can give.
That's fair, Sony makes the cables, so they have to buy cable.
Yeah. Yeah?
It's a little different, but I got an original Xbox that doesn't really want to work, and it's not like the rendering dead either. It'll turn on, but like the disk drive won't come out. And I've gone through the usual guides online, and I just can't, like, none of those work. And I'm trying to still be able to play my games.
I've dealt with disk drive issues on the original Xbox before too. If I remember correctly, a paperclip will help. You can just use a paperclip.
I tried that one. That one didn't work at all.
Oh, it didn't?
No. That's the most common one. I tried at least the first two most common, which I think the second one was going at it from the side.
Yeah, hopefully you can get that thing fixed because I do like the original Xbox. So there's some great games for it.
Take it apart.
I don't know how.
What is your favorite handheld console between like PSPs or Game Boy Advances or like a 3DS or something?
My favorite handheld console. That's honestly hard to say. I would have to go with either like the Game Boy Advance, the SP specifically, or the 3DS. Fun fact, not to boast here, but I won my very first 3DS in a Stacker's machine at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. It was one of the luckiest days of my life.
So you have really good reaction time, is what you're saying. No input lag.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, what's the best Mega Man game?
Okay, confession time. I've never played a single Mega Man game, but I do want to at some point.
Not the X Collection, bro?
Yeah, I'm sorry if that's total gaming sacrilege on my part, but hopefully I'll get to a Mega Man game at some point. I'll hopefully buy one of the, at least one of the collections on Steam. Oh my God, so many hands up. I don't know which one to choose for. Who was first? I'll go with the guy with the orange hair. I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. The game. Was the GameCube my first system?
No, was it in the slideshow?
Oh, yeah. We talked about the GameCube.
Okay, and then for the Dreamcast, I'm looking into HDMI adapters. Is that gonna be a problem as far as video degradation?
Is the HDMI adapter going to be a problem? Well, I wouldn't be surprised if the adapters you're looking at like stretch the image. Thanks for the picture, by the way. But yeah, I would recommend rather than an HDMI adapter, I would go with a VGA cable, or like a VGA to component cable for the Dreamcast. I can't remember where I got it, but I think it was the Behar Bros website.
The thing is, I don't want to play on a computer monitor, I want to play on my TV.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask too.
So,
A lot of these TVs come with HDMI only.
yeah, it's mainly HDMI. I mean, I have monitors, but so it's tough. I'm looking into a modern one, like as far as soldering in and forth.
One thing I do notice is that it's pretty easy to find like old retro TVs in estate sales or Facebook Marketplace.
You want to keep you got a 100-inch TV. You want
Yeah, been there, done that.
I see.
Yeah, I got a TV.
They do make like upscale boxes as well, like a whole external thing, rather than just being a cable that translates it or whatever.
They want too much money though, that's the problem.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they do want a lot of money, but in my personal opinion, I think they're worth every dollar. Because like the
$700
okay, yeah, for the 4K one, maybe it's a bit much.
I think they're being
Yeah, somewhere the PS3 is just sipping a drink, just like, yeah, you thought I was overpriced at launch. No problem. I'm sorry if I couldn't really answer very well. I tried. Yeah.
What consoles do you have in your personal collection?
Right now, let's see. I've got a DS Lite with a broken L button. I've got what else do I got? I've got a Switch, the OLED version. I've got an original Xbox. I've got an Xbox 360. I've got a big old PlayStation 1. I got a PS2, the fat version. Got a PS3. I can't remember which version off the top of my head of the PS3. But I do know it's not one that plays PS2 games. I have a Wii, I have a Wii U, and I think that might be about it. Yeah. Oh, and an Atari 7800 Plus. I recently picked one of those up. My mom also likes to play that because she was a big Atari fan back in the day.
So going as a collection owner, what was the hardest game you did, and what's the hardest game you ever that took you to find?
The hardest game that I've ever found, or at least attempted to find. Well, at the moment, one of the hardest ones I've been trying to find is College Hoops 2K8, which is the last 2K Sports college basketball video game. That was released in 2007. And like that thing sells for over $100, and it just sells like hotcakes on eBay. It really does. So that comes to mind when I think of really hard ones to find.
Would you agree the best snowboarding game is SSX Tricky?
Yeah.
Best snowboarding game of all time.
I'm gonna have to go with SSX 3 on that.
Thank you.
It's tricky.
Like, look, Run DMC is cool, but I'll take yellow card. Thank you.
Okay, I know yellow card, so okay.
I know I did not cry when they reunited. You did. There's a lot of things I like about SSX3 in comparison to Tricky, actually.
That's fair.
Yeah.
This question's a bit of a two-parter. So first off, in the Atari game Adventure, have you ever done the Easter egg?
Which Easter egg are you referring to?
The one with the hidden room, where we find a little dot and go back to the starting screen, and it has the creator's name because Atari at that time didn't let the creators put their own name on the box, so this guy just decided to code his name into the actual game.
I don't remember coming across that, actually.
And then second, is the slideshow like downloadables somewhere in case we want to review it later?
At the moment, it's not downloadable. I actually didn't really think of that, but if there's a way I can I can provide that, I'll certainly do it, and I'll let you know.
It's kind of a hard question, but we don't even think too much about it, but can you tell us your favorite game for each system?
Oof,
I wouldn't think too much about it though, it's the first game that comes to mind.
Okay. If I had to pick my favorite GameCube game, one in terms of one that I put a lot of hours into, one that comes to mind is Mario Golf Toadstool Tour. So we got a fan of that game here.
I know that one.
Yeah, that one's fun. Man, that was a really hard question to answer.
Like I said, I wouldn't think too much about it, just the first one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
The first one, the one that you put the most hours into,
Mhm.
you value the most, just.
Hey, at least you didn't ask my favorite game of all time. That's the $1 million question right there. And if I had to pick a favorite PS2 game, I'd probably have to go with Gran Turismo 4. That game's amazing.
Also, yes, that's like the one game I have that works on my PS2.
Hmm.
The other discs are like ruined.
Hmm. That's a bummer.
It is. But at least Gran Turismo's fun.
It is. Anybody else? Like I said, your questions and comments don't have to be just about this slideshow. They can be about me, my content, anything else like that.
How do you go? What's your setup to video capture Dreamcast games?
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
What's your setup to video capture Dreamcast games?
I use a VGA to component cable for my Dreamcast, but to my knowledge, I've never actually recorded any Dreamcast videos yet, although I do have a couple Dreamcast games lying around I can make videos of.
That's what you should put on there, quality, what it looks like.
Yeah, hopefully I'll get to it at some point. But at the moment, I've only got 2 Dreamcast games, Test Drive Le Mans and Sydney 2000, both of which I think are good. And if you go to my Instagram actually and go to my Linktree, you'll find a butt ton of Amazon wish lists for different game consoles. And there's some good Dreamcast games in there, for example. Well, we got some people who just joined. How's it going? So to recap, for those who just joined, we were talking about. Sorry, I stutter and stammer a lot. We were talking about making old game consoles look good and play well on modern TVs using upscalers that are a bit expensive, but I think they're worth it. And now we're just we're just going over questions and answers here, about this slideshow, my content, or just me in general.
Are there any, I guess, cheaper versions that might not perform as well but are still generally functionable? Because $300 to $700 is a lot of money to shell out.
It definitely is. One that comes to mind is the open source scan converter, which I used to have one of those. I haven't looked at one of those in a long time on eBay, but I think they're around the $100 to $200 range.
It's the open source what converter?
Scan converter.
You're gonna basically lose quality no matter what.
Yeah.
That's all we guarantee, just to lose quality.
Mhm. Let's see. Are there any more questions?
Maybe this is obvious, but is there a retro console that you think is the easiest to upscale? I don't know, Saturn or PlayStation 2 or whatever?
Well, I never really thought about what the easiest to upscale is, although something related to that comes to mind is I remember on my open source scan converter, I was trying to record Sonic Jam for the Sega Saturn, and the resolution would constantly change, and it would really mess with my my OSSC. Like I remember trying to record a video of that with a friend, specifically the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 multiplayer mode in that, and we were just unable to because it just kept changing resolution and messing with the equipment. Yeah. And in my opinion, Sonic Jam is, along with Sonic Origins Plus, those are like the pinnacle of Sonic collections in my book. Yeah, they're up there. Okay. Mm-hmm. Anything else?
I would have loved to have seen your slide. It sounds really interesting. The thing we were at went really long. We're talking about a piece of hardware that goes in between the old console and a modern TV or a computer? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, this is, yeah, we talked about like somewhat expensive upscalers that are better than those really cheap converters that you would get on Amazon or eBay.
Now, why isn't this just like software that you put on your computer and run it through? Why do you need a dedicated piece of hardware for this?
Well, this is just an alternative. If you're like me and you don't really like using those free PC emulators for old consoles, I mean, if you like those, that's fine. But I just prefer like actual hardware.
I have a mix of both in my collection.
What about your collection? I'm sorry.
I said I have a mix of both.
Oh, you do? That's cool.
I hacked a Wii to run emulators.
Mm.
I got another one. So I have a GameCube. My TV that I've been using for a while is on this weird cusp of modern and retro because it still has those red, white, and yellow cables. Would you recommend that I still get a piece of hardware, or do you think it'll look fine if I just plug it in with the plugs it's got?
I honestly think you should go with the upscaler. I have experience putting the composite cables, for example, into a modern TV's composite input, and it still looks really washed out.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, looking at the time, we got 17 minutes left. That's plenty of time to talk.
Have you ever looked into mystery before?
Looked into what, sorry?
That PGA based emulation, meaning hardware based emulation.
Not that I recall, no.
Do you ever have any plans to get a 3DS?
I would like to get a new 3DS XL again at some point. I sold mine a while back because just needed the money. But yeah, hopefully I'll get another one of those at some point.
Yeah, I would highly recommend. I don't know exactly what it's called, but I bought mine, and it has this program downloaded on it that gives me access to every Nintendo game. So I don't have to go through and buy the Pokemon Platinum cartridges, which are both impossible to find in $400 something.
Yeah.
Sounds like yours is hacked.
Yeah, they're very easy to model.
Yeah, it is legit because a court case in 2017, I think, forced Nintendo to make all their games accessible via download if they've ever been released on cartridge. So it's through the Nintendo eShop and then two other programs where
The
I just
eShop
get
has been
that.
closed on the 3DS, so
What?
the eShop has been closed on the 3DS.
The only mod on there is to access the internet. That's the only change on there.
I think you can still download it, you can't buy it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would highly recommend doing that because you get more bang for your buck instead of trying to find every friggin' Pokemon cartridge or Rhythm Heaven and stuff. Because those are getting harder and harder to find for not extreme prices.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll think about it. We got a couple people who just joined us. How are you guys today?
Good. We were a little late on accident, sorry.
No, that's okay. Do you have any questions you'd like to ask regarding retro consoles and upscalers, or like questions about me or my YouTube content or anything of that sort?
Not really here. We just wanted to learn.
Yeah. Yeah, admittedly, the slideshow like only took about 10 minutes or so. So apologies for going through that so quickly. Anybody else got anything to ask or say?
Have you ever played on a Leapfrog before? It was I forget who made them, but they were like these like game held consoles for kids and stuff. They're like specifically marketed to kids.
Are you talking about like the makers of the Leap Pad?
Yeah. They made this like smaller one, and I remember playing as a kid, but I've never seen one or heard of it since.
I can't say I have experience with that, but I do remember having a Leap Pad and I loved it.
I have a rather open-ended question. Do you know the newest console that you can play Dance Dance Revolution on with a Mac at your house? I have my PS2 set up. I just don't know if there's anything newer.
I can't remember off the top of my head what the latest Dance Dance Revolution game is. I'm sorry. Yeah, now that you mentioned Dance Dance Revolution, I remember. Did anyone else have like a day in gym class where they played it? No.
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like in 6th or 7th grade when we did.
Yeah, that was probably like the only fun gym class outside of dodgeball.
I mean, did you at least have fun with floor hockey? I sure did.
I prefer like roller ice hockey instead.
Right.
And just the normal like gym class, they're just kind of like half the people aren't there to like play, so it's the game kind of devolves at that point.
I hear you.
Do you know anything about consoleizers? Like being able to play, and I'm not talking about officially for this stuff, I'm talking about like modding a Game Boy games or a DS to play it on TV, stuff like that.
I actually do know about that. At least for the DSs, a lot of times you need to take the interplay and solder on your own access port for that, because for whatever reason they just never added one. There's a couple of good YouTube tutorials on that. I would say though, it is kind of risky. You have to be incredibly careful.
I really destroyed my DS taking it for so.
Yeah, they're very delicate. So if you live in Colorado, there's level 7 games off of it's 84th and I-25. There's a great guy there. He can do that for you. And he's really good at it.
Yeah, I've only been to one level 7 games location, and I really like it. They've got some good games there. Whoops, sorry. Anything else we can talk about?
I don't even know if this is something you can answer, but I've got the HDMI like reboots of the original PlayStation and Sega Genesis, and I've heard that there's a
Hmm.
Again, I don't know if you can answer that.
Yeah, I can't really answer that. I'm sorry.
Really?
They're not hard to, it's not hard to do, you have to mod it there. You're talking about the classics, right? The PlayStation Classic, the
Yeah, I saw a YouTube video of a guy explaining how to like. He said there was a website you could literally just download out of a thumb drive and upload it into the console. And I can't remember what the website was. I think on the video.
They're easy to find, you know, like, you know, the ROMs. That's not the problem. The problem is like we get them on there. Unless they change the way you do it, my understanding is you have to like, like a simple soft mod before you do that.
Yeah, maybe the guy skipped some steps or
It's
something.
not hard to do though. It's not hard to do.
Yeah. All right. So since we got only like 9 minutes left, and a lot of people have left, I think we'll call it here if that's okay. So thank you very much for attending this panel. I hope you learned something about how upscaling works and these really cool ways to make your game consoles, your retro game consoles, look good on your modern TV. And I probably won't bring this panel back anytime soon because I've already done it 3 times. But I'm going to be submitting another kind of panel to non-Desucon this year, which will be about simulation racing video games. And this guy over here seems to be into that. Whether it be Gran Turismo or Forza, maybe are you into iRacing as well?
I actually prefer Gran Turismo to iRacing, which is not a very popular opinion.
Yeah, that's all right. Everyone's their own taste.